I've been using charcoal more and more over the last couple of months, mostly for small sketches or the drawings that then get painted over in acrylics. Charcoal is a medium that's safe to use with paint layered over it, unlike, for example, graphite. So I've just been reaching for it more and more as I painted on canvas or panels. But today I want to try just a pure charcoal drawing. Before starting, I took out the random collection of charcoal pencils I've been using to compare them. This Derwent Charcoal pencil in dark is a new one and one I've been excited for as I love their light version. It creates a beautiful deep black without much dust or grain flying off. The charcoal I use the most over all my drawings so far is the Artgraf Soft Carbon. It's the one giving the smoothest result and just a great all-rounder. For those deeper blacks, I love the PITT charcoal by Faber-Castell. This is their medium version and even that creates this incredibly intense black hue here. It's a bit of a pain to sharpen this one though. A new one that I just bought is the Renoir medium charcoal. It's the cheapest here by quite a bit, so I was curious about the quality. It's the least intense, but I've tested it for a couple small portrait sketches, and it's great when working on small formats that I don't want to get too messy. The Conté à Paris in 2B is one I do struggle with a bit, maybe because so far I have not drawn on large formats, and this one tends to create a lot of charcoal dust. Since I love the Derwent Charcoal light version and now also added the dark to my collection, I was hoping that these two would blend well together and wasn't disappointed. I'll be drawing a close-up portrait study of this painting I'm working on, as I struggle with her expression here. But I want to change the atmosphere a bit, from the darker one here in the painting to something more hopeful and light. To make blending easier for me for this first try, I just reached for watercolor paper. This is the hot-pressed Fabriano studio paper, which is intended for watercolor use, but I really like it as a mixed media paper too. I'm using a 9 by 12 inches paper here. This is a big size for me, as I mostly sketch in A5 or even smaller sketchbooks. I'm using a combination of reference images by Howard Lyon and Graphite Studio. The first step was making sure everything fit on the format, so I'm very roughly sketching in the most important shapes. The outline of the face, the hand reaching up, and the floating piece of coral, and how they are related to each other. Whenever something is slightly off, I use a kneaded eraser to tone down the charcoal lines and collect stray dust. And then I just draw over it. You can't completely erase the charcoal this way, but the kneaded eraser makes it easier to add new layers and to blur lines. You might have noticed that the reference image is just on my phone in the background. I sometimes use my tablet for that too, if I want a larger view, but both work. And I recommend putting your reference pictures in Drive or Dropbox folders, so that you can switch back and forth whenever you want. I honestly rarely finish drawings or paintings in a single sitting, and often spread things out over days or even weeks. So I like having all my references nicely labeled and organized like that. It's also helpful whenever I'm not sure what to draw. I just started a 10 heads challenge of small portrait paintings, inspired by the 100 heads challenge, but for lazy people. And I've been collecting all kinds of inspiring references in a specific folder for that too. By the way, keep your old, dirty, kneaded erasers around. They are great all-purpose tools that help holding wobbly table easels, panels, or canvas in place. Another tip for using references is to keep them at the same angle as the drawing. If this paper were lying flat on the desk, it would be much harder to keep the proportions consistent, as I'd have a very distorted view from where I'm sitting. I like to use my table easel to lean a drawing board against, and then have the phone or tablet at that same angle. For paintings though, I use my table easel properly to have the canvas or panel at a near 90-degree angle, and I adjust my phone or tablet stand to be the same. I'm switching between a variety of different charcoal pencils here. The ones I used the most were the Derwent Charcoal Light and the Artgraf Soft Carbon. The light charcoal was great for the cross-hatching and structured shading, while the softer charcoal created those darker shadows that I wanted for the eyes, the mouth, and the hair in some areas. What I really like about the Artgraf Soft Carbon is that it's very, as the name implies, soft and dark, but it allows for a lot of precision and isn't very dusty. I also used the very soft Conté de Paris and PITT charcoal pencils for the hair and to bring even more contrast into certain areas. As these pencils create some charcoal dust, I found that going over them with another layer of the Derwent Charcoal Light or the Artgraf Charcoal blended the dust into the drawing smoothly, without needing any blending stumps, tissue paper, or brushes. I wanted to keep the charcoal quite textured, so for this drawing I avoided those blending tools, though I'd love to experiment with them in the future. Despite this being a charcoal drawing, I wanted to keep it light, to give an airy, hopeful impression. The concept for this mermaid painting is the discovery of a single piece of maybe magical, still living coral, surrounded by an otherwise dead coral reef. It's a tragic scene in the acrylic painting version where the bleached corals seem like a cage surrounding the mermaid, while for the drawing here I wanted to shift that and give a sense of discovery and maybe joy. Can you tell that the overall concept for this mermaid painting is very much based in climate anxiety? This is also a piece for the New Beginnings exhibition at Artmajor Gallery, which starts in September. But that wasn't the end. To emphasize that piece of coral, I dipped my toes into another medium or two. I'd used gold leaf embellishments before, but here I didn't want to leave it at that, but create a slight 3D effect on top of it. I love how actual coral feels to the touch, and wanted to bring some of that texture to the drawing. So on top of the metal leaf, I used coarse iridescent paints by Golden. Like their name implies, these paints aren't just shimmery, but have a gritty texture, as if finely ground pearl or gold were put in a paint tube. Layering and mixing all of these and then adding a glossy varnish on just the embellished parts created this very unique effect that I'm actually really in love with. The drawing itself is now on its way to the US for that gallery exhibit. I'd be curious to hear if you've used charcoal yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next art video.